Good Lord. What is up, everybody? Happy Thursday to you. Unplanned live stream. If you follow this content, you know I don't. Sometimes I'm just going to pop them on you. Unless it's a deep discussion, I'll try to plan it because usually it's a little bit more research based and not off the top of my head. Like my last live stream, I was kind of digging into or breaking down Tucker Carlson's interview with Mike Huckabee. And, I like conversations like this. I know that these types of conversations are threatening or harmful to the illusions that, world societies are expected to believe. But, when you start really seeing the coordination, when you really start really seeing the coordination of these elites and these people at the top, you're not really finding these just super intelligent, super strong and capable people. You're actually finding a coordinated people who like to foster illusions. All right. And I realized that about some of these Canaanite and Edomite descendants that rule the world with their Gentile buddies, their weak Gentile buddies, their money hungry, you know, easily leveraged and bribable Gentile buddies, right? Canaanites and Edomites are Gentiles too, but for the sake of the conversation and popular belief, right? Whatever. But it's just interesting to me because I happened to catch Candace Owens, and I've said this before. I do not go in depth into any rabbit hole that Candace Owens is going into. I would rather go into the rabbit hole of a biblical scroll than to, or something in antiquities, than to go down the rabbit hole of some of these affairs of men on earth. Because, here's the thing, I am realistic that, we are definitely living in, some people say the last days. I say we are in the final hours. All right. We are in the final hours. And, when you think about it, a day for God is like 1,000 years. A day for the Most High is like 1,000 years. And I think, because we have so many people who are indoctrinated, you know, unfortunately, they do not understand that when people bitch and moan about, why did God let things go on for so long? Why this, why that? They missed the timeline for mankind. They missed the hourglass for mankind that was outlined in Daniel. That statue was not just a statue in a dream that he was deciphering. Excuse me. It was truly the timeline for mankind. And when you look at the timeline of mankind, and even when you go back into the scrolls and some of the text that was written by a lot of those apostles and the disciples, one thing that we can, you know, definitely agree on as we assess the scriptures is that John referred to Rome as the end of times, right? And when you look at the statue in Daniel, you're going to see that Rome was literally the last firmly held governmental or worldwide governmental structure, right? After Rome, the statute tells us that there will be fragments of political powers to the end times, like to the final destruction or judgments on everyone on earth. And so we are in those fragments. We are those fragments of power. When you look at all of the world powers, that would dominate and influence the world after Rome, there was none mightier. America is not as mighty as Rome. America is not, even in union with Israel, they are not as mighty as the Roman Empire. And so this fragment of governmental control that we see in the end times, hell yeah, it's going to be satanically infused, right? I'm listening to Candace Owens and she starts this segment off and she's talking about some of the manipulations of the governments of the world, specifically the United States. And she's kind of getting into how she believes that these governments are obviously social engineering societies. And it's very obvious that this social engineering is happening. This is why you have these polars, right? Everyone's like, why is it bipartisan? We'll never have a third party in the United States. You know why we will never have a third party in the United States? Because you got the same people playing both sides of the coins at all times. That's what people don't realize. You have the same group of people literally playing both sides of the coins at all time. They know how to manipulate. They know how to set people up. I was looking at a documentary and it was this guy named Tony Oliveira, and he was kind of going through this community, and there's a certain community that has basically infiltrated, and you see the collapse of the local economy, and the local economy literally is in service of one community, right? And then this guy talks about this guy, I guess he's a head of this community or some powerful force in this community. And Tony Oliveira asked him, how were you able to take over this city government? How were you guys able to pretty much gain control and power in this city government? And he goes into this thing where I guess there was a situation where this board was accused of being anti-Semitic, right? And this became, they had sound bites of the mayor and this questioning, there was a line of questioning going on in this meeting. And this man, I don't understand why these people sing like a canary or at least share their schemes, right? Because he said two things that literally told me that whole fucking thing was a setup. He says that he had operatives in the meeting. And then he talks about the questions and some of the comments that were made. And he talks about the mayor saying something very, very specific. And that was the soundbite that they were using to get the DOJ to come in and basically prosecute these people for anti-Semitism, right? And then he says, after that, the mayor came and said sorry because he was running for re-election, and all of the people embraced him and he got re-elected. And it's like, are you serious? Like, I mean, this is the just the satanic scheming shit that I'm talking about. That when people talk about God's chosen people, God would not choose a people like that. He would not choose big scheming people like that. And as a result of this infiltration into these townships and cities, right? They're in the process, just because of taxes, right? They are closing schools. So while private schools that have no real connection to anybody else in the community but one specific community, why those things are thriving and having all of their civil service and tax funds kind of diverted over there because they can kind of hedge things, under certain types of nonprofits, right? They're able to just wipe out whole cities. But Candace is talking about social engineering in the beginning of her Bride of Charlie series. And, it's just interesting to me because, this is clearly the grieving widow, right? Can we all agree that Candace Owens is the real grieving widow of Charlie Kirk? All right. This is the real grieving widow. And, I understand that she's hurt, but this is not really coming from a place of hurt. This is coming from a place of vengeance, I believe. I think that Candace truly do believe that Charlie was Julius Caesared by his organization. And I think that she truly believes that this conspiracy, because there was so much money on the line with Charlie changing his position about Israel, right? That there was so much money and influence on the line that it was an internal job. This is what I'm really kind of getting from a lot of these internet investigations and even what Candace is doing. And you can't really single out Candace because I see a lot of content creators on this Charlie Kirk thing. And, for what it's worth, you know, Charlie Kirk obviously was loved by a lot of people. And there was a lot of people who followed Charlie Kirk. His assassination just did not sit right with them. And obviously, Candace is one of them. But now she's getting very specific. It's like beyond like the organization and certain people. And now she's going straight to the widow, the grieving widow with the great mascara and the fake tears. She's going straight to Erica Kirk. And she's kind of going down this rabbit hole of who Erica says she is. And she's going down this rabbit hole of, just her family background. And she's like, Erica is, going around saying that she was raised by a single mother when in fact Erica not only had her dad in her life, she had a wealthy stepdad in her life as well. And that's actually a valid point because I think a lot of times when people look at a single woman with kids, they kind of conflate it with a baby mama, right? A baby mama may not be getting any financial support from the baby daddy, okay? Single women with kids, that doesn't mean that the man is not doing anything. I think people look at all single women the same way with children, and that's just, obviously ignorance, right? Erica Kirk's mom arguably was a single woman with a child. She was not the sole financial caregiver for Erica, right? And when you let people narrate things like that, obviously it's creating kind of a sob story, a way for people like single mothers to relate to Erica and her mom. But Erica just doesn't share the same experience, as a child that was truly raised by a single mom, where the mom was the sole financial caregiver, and a lot of times there was no stepdad to fall back on. A lot of these men are chicken to be stepdads these days, right? You got like the little red pill space that are discouraging men from being stepdads. So, but in her situation, she not only had her dad in her life, she also had a stepdad. So her mom was literally just a single woman with a child. But she was definitely not a baby mama. But I mean, I guess that was like a moot point. Maybe she's trying to narrate that Erica is being curated. And I've said this before that Erica Kirk was giving very curated, but you got to understand her background, who she is, that lineage, that lineage of people, a lot of them are deceptors and they have to curate because they're running in deceptions and lies. If Erica Kirk was so dynamic, right, she would have been able to hit the ground running. She's not dynamic. She needs to be curated. But in their curations of Erica Kirk, Candace is pointing out the exaggerations of her curations. And, she's just asking questions. But it's interesting. You meet with the chick not too long ago. It seemed like you had a productive conversation. I thought, Candace was going to focus on other people in the organization. And now she's like balls deep in Erica. She is balls deep into Erica. I'm like, I'm wondering what happened in that situation, that dynamic of talking where she's balls deep. I gotta believe that Turning Point USA sent her like a cease and desist. And people like Candace Owens, okay, because the Zionists raised her, she knows their tactics. Honestly, anybody, if you're aware and intelligent, you'll know the Zionist tactics, right? They use bullying, coordination, and fear. All right? They use bullying, coordination, and fear. I was actually looking at Jeffrey Epstein's interview with Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon got to be a creepy ass dude, right? But the I just was interested in watching the character of Jeffrey Epstein. And as I'm watching this man interview with Steve Bannon, I couldn't help but notice how composed he was, right? And how he really seemed to be centered on intellectualism. And, Steve Bannon asked him about politicians. And, he was like, I don't really like politicians. These people are just people who are popular. I like creators, I like inventors. You know what I mean? And he was obviously providing seeding money for a lot of things like transgender propaganda, we find out, right? But it was just the deception of his whole demeanor. It was like you're looking at a guy and you would never think that looking at that interview that that particular guy was into the shit that he was into. And this is the MK Ultra deception of some of these people. They are like dual personalities or something. And somebody else who knew Jeffrey Epstein even said that how he can go from like the nicest guy, the most soft, to a monster like that. You know what I mean? And so when you're looking at these curated people like Erica Kirk, right? It seems like she's curated, right? Imagine the monster behind closed doors. Like, imagine the monster. Like, you can tell by that woman's eyes, her face, she's been conditioned. Like, this is a conditioned woman, and she's emotionalist, right? It's to me, there's something kind of demonic about Erica Kirk. There's something really kind of deeply seated demonic about her that I can't like. It's just it's there. And, I'm going to do a live stream tomorrow, but maybe I'll just cover it today so I can just enjoy my Sabbath. But I was going to be talking about people who use religion as a badge of credibility, right? You see these people and they use religion as a badge to manipulate other people, to gain their trust, to make themselves look more trustworthy. All the while, these are demons. These are demons. They tell you what you want to hear, they say what you want to hear, right? But they are demonic people behind closed door. This is what you get when you think about Kabbalah. And a lot of these Canaanites and Edomites believe in Kabbalah. They created it and then even tried to tether it on to the pure Hebrew faith. But these people are Kabbalah, okay? They do wicked shit and then they try to mask over it with some sense of virtue, right? It's like the Nicolaitans, right? You ever hear the saying, like, if you're a person who is of the word, if you grew up in a church or something, right? Maybe your priest or your pastor said something to you on along the fact of you can't eat at the table of God and eat at the table of the devil, right? Hit the like button if you've heard that before. You cannot eat at the table of God and eat at the table of the devil. And these people do it. They need God to be the mask. God is the mask. Religion is the mask to make those who look upon them think that they're virtuous and high esteem. But really, in their soul, they're wicked to the core. These people are wicked to the core. What's going on, Javier? Let me get into the comments. What's going on, baby? I see you. And what is it, Dave? What's going on? You know, these people are wicked to the core. And sorry, my voice is gone. I did this VR simulation today where it was like almost like Doom. If you ever played the game Doom back in the day, and I did. And so I wanted to do this particular simulation, but it was so intense. It was so intense. Like, that was like the most intense 30 minutes of my life. And I don't recommend people go into a VR co op without at least 5 people strong. Like, my friend and I kept dying because we did not have enough people, but it was fun and it was a rush. But, again, these people are Kabbalah. And so, what Candace is talking about with Erica Kirk, some of these, psychological manipulators, right? Ultimately, they are Kabbalah, right? They are angels of darkness masking as angels of light, masking as, God's chosen people when really they are Satan's chosen people. And you can tell by their deeds. I'm going to tell you, if you ever meet a real Hebrew Israelite, if you ever meet a real Hebrew Israelite, you're going to walk away spiritually strengthened. You're going to walk away with a higher knowledge base. All right? You're not going to walk away with some like weird affirmation. You're going to walk away with true knowledge, you know? And that's how you know who the real Israelites are and who they're not. But anyways, Candace is going in on Erica Kirk now. I don't know, like, obviously, kind of, if she's just trying to destroy the credibility, of the organization because she feels like they had something to do with Charlie's death. And so she's like, you guys, basically Julius Caesar, the person who blood, sweat, and tears went into this organization so that you guys can psyop and take it over so that your people can be the face of it. I'm telling you, this story is not new. Okay? This story is not new. When people talk about they stolen inventions, putting other faces on it, putting white faces on other people's inventions, those aren't Japhites. Those aren't the regular Eurasian white faces that are assuming the face of a people's inventions. Those are Canaanites and Edomites. They are culture vultures. They, honestly, it's like a self preservation thing. It really is. Because, like, if you removed all of the other nations of people out of the equation and just left the Canaanite and Edomite, you know, shit would not be popping. But when you can blockbuster people out of their ideas, out of their house, out of everything, right? Because that's what they do. These are not God's chosen people. God's chosen people, Israelites, do not move like these people. They don't move like these people. Israelites would get judgments. Israelites would get judgments if they moved like these people. And so when Candace is talking about the hidden Satanism, these, sex rituals, and all these things that these people need to do to empower themselves, right? All the while they will present to you as a noble congressman or a serious businessman or a high intellectual, right? All the while these people are satanic perverts or a priest or a pastor, right? All the while they are satanic perverts. If they did not have their satanic rituals and their satanic idealisms, they would not be empowered. And the sacrifice is always going to be another human being. This is how you know these people are not God's chosen people. The sacrifice to their God has to be shaming in ritual, setting up another human being. Hebrew Israelites don't move like that. They don't move like that. They don't think like that. That is so out of covenant thinking for a Hebrew, a real Hebrew, scheming, usury, taking people, stealing people's stuff, taking them out the game so you can steal their glory because you have none of your own. Fake propping, curating these people. You know, it's a lot of people in Hollywood. It's a lot of people just in media space in general. They are not talented, yet they have been around for years. They have been around for years. And the only reason why we see they untalented asses is because they belong to them people. They're Canaanite and Edomite descendants. So they're going to be forced down our throats no matter how unfunny they are, like Sarah Silverman or Amy Schumer. They're going to force the Canaanite descendants down our throats every time. And we're not going to really understand why. They're just going to really make them relevant all the time. You just got to repeat the relevance of an irrelevant, and then people will just start noticing. Like, you see how they prop Bad Bunny, the Puerto Rican Canaanite descendant. They had to really overprop that dude before the Super Bowl. Wasn't nobody checking for no Bad Bunny. And you know Jay-Z didn't even make that call. Jay-Z was forced to make that call. Jay-Z wasn't about to bring Bad Bunny. There were so many other better acts to bring to the Super Bowl this year, right? But they needed to propagandize that dude. And he's a whole fucking agenda. He's a whole freaking agenda. And I don't understand every time the Canaanite descendants present one of their descendants to the public, why he got to be gay? Why do he got to be bisexual? Why can't he be a man firmly affirmed in what he is? It's like they keep pushing these Bad Bunnies on society. Don't nobody want to see that. That is y'all people stuff. Don't nobody want to see all that anti-God behavior all the time. But their people runs the show. Their people runs the media influence. Like, here's the thing. Again, I'm not anti anybody. I pray that people get their shit together and get right with God. Because really, y'all see what's going on with the United States and Israel. When these two countries collapse, it's going to be just, to me, it's the beginning of the end. And again, I do believe that humanity started in America. Because that's where all the dinosaur fossils. So it's fitting that the beginning is the end. Kind of reminds me of that Smashing Pumpkins song. And I was asking God, I'm like, this is really perplexing me. I'm like, why are most of the dinosaur fossils found in America? Why is it in Spain, right? North America dominantly. They found the dragons over in China, and obviously they would find them over there, and even in some Mexican place because they could fly. But they still got killed over there. That's why they found the fossils. But it really like literally, I'm like, I feel like humanity started in America. I feel like this is where we begin. And this is where the core of the beast ends. Like, I really do feel like, my God, it's like all this shit was planned out. All of this shit was planned out. Like, even down to the time of the Gentiles. I was really thinking about that. Like, people were like, it's a time where Jewish people won't be. Man, no, that's not what the time is. Jewish people are Gentiles. But the time of the Gentiles, as I think about it, you had Israel, the chosen people, who were supposed to be an example to the nations, right? They were supposed to be in covenant, right? They failed, right? And this is where those extensions, right? That new covenant, bringing in the Gentiles for the promises, right? And the Gentiles had to have their time, right? Israel had over 2,000 years to prove that they could be the people that God needed them to be, right? It's 2000, we're almost at the 2000th year of the death of Yahusha, right? And when I think about the time of the Gentiles, that time was really to see if the Gentiles would corrupt the faith like the Israelites. And they did. They created Christianity. The Israelites created Judaism, the Gentiles created Christianity. So both went away from the way, right? And so now you have this pure corruption of religion. You have people who are following false doctrines. And again, some of the most wicked, inclined, spirited people are saying that they are Christians, right? Like, I don't understand, especially on the conservative side. I've never seen the wickedness, the hatred of your fellow countrymen because of their color, like over there. And I'm not going to say that's all white men. This is Jewish people too. Like, Jewish people need to really own their racism and how they put their racism on white people. We need to be open about that. That there's a lot of racist groups in this nation. And Jewish people love to play the victim, but they never want to talk about their own racism. And I'm not talking about all the Jews. I'm sure there's plenty of non racist Jews out there. But we got to talk about the internal bias in that community and how they put it on white people and how they can kind of play that chameleon role into, I'm not white, I'm Jewish, right? Or I know I have white privilege because I'm a white guy. It's like, well, pick a struggle, because it's like we don't know what you are, right? And again, it's that chameleonness of these Canaanite descendants that I really don't care for. I don't care for that. I really don't. And, I pray for everybody. I pray for everybody, right? I'm going to speak real. I'm going to speak the truth. That's what my God told me to do. But at the end of the day, I always pray that people turn from their wicked ways, choose righteousness, align themselves with holy acts of kindness and the fruitages of the Spirit, right? Abandon the seven deadly spirits that many people manifest and even try to make popular today. Think about the seven deadly sins. Lust is marketed, right? Envy is being marketed across the board, right? Everything that is anti-God is actually a marketing strategy by these Canaanite and Edomite descendants. They want the world wicked like them. And this is why you have to start being selective in what you entertain, what you indulge in, what you let these algorithms repetitively feed you. Because they'll start, it's like planting seeds. These algorithms are all about planting seeds, planting insecurity. This is why Facebook continuously gets sued or have to go before Congress, right? Because they are looking at the results of these teenagers who are buying into all this vanity and superficial, all this stuff. They're measuring themselves on likes instead of having firm measurement in what their value are. And a lot of people beyond teenagers are now doing that. And again, the root of that is demonism, demon inspired behaviors, and content. So, anyways, you guys, let me know if you are following this rabbit hole of Candace Owens. She's getting deep into this girl's background. Obviously, to me, it just seems like, Candace can't say it. Obviously, she's just going to ask questions around it, right? But it seems like, based off of Erica's behaviors, what transpired after Charlie, it doesn't seem like anyone's buying the grieving widow. And because people are not buying this grieving widow, it's causing them to investigate her. It's opened the door for people to investigate Erica Kirk. And I said this several times And the Zionists don't want to listen to black people, even though they love to leech off of us. They'll take our content and tell one of their Zionist people, like, hey, do what they're doing. Right? But I told the Zionists that they need to shelf her. She should have been shelved. She should have been shelved. Like, if you needed her to have a breakout, it really shouldn't have been that quick after her husband was brutally murdered. The man didn't die of cancer. The man did not die of cancer. It was not an expected death unless it was an expected death. You know what I mean? I would be traumatized. Like, I expected a woman who truly loved a man to be traumatized. I wouldn't even expect for her to be able to say shit. But yeah, Erica Kirk is just moved on. She's like, I don't want to be morbid, guys. And like, my husband is dead. Like, my husband is dead. You know, that sounds like a woman that wanted her husband's spot. That sounded like a woman that was being primed on a low to be in her husband's place because she is a more leverageable asset for that organization anyways. Innocent angel face, let me go over here and talk to your teenager kids about TPUSA. Maybe take your daughters and see if we can get them some modeling careers. Anyways, how about those Romanian angels? Read the newspapers. You read the newspapers that people are showing in Romania. The people in that village they had a problem with what was going on with that military-based child orphanage thing. Like, it was outside people looking in, like, this shit ain't right. This is not right. And why these kids disappearing? Where the hell they going? And again, when you start following the stories and the documentaries of these sex trafficking victims, you realize that these people are sold all over the fucking place to different people of power. I forgot the young lady's name. Excuse me. She survived sex trafficking, but she talked about how she was trafficked from the time she was 5 years old to 11 to highly diplomatic people. And she would be running around with these diplomats. And, they would think that she's their niece, or she would get introduced as their niece. But really, a 5-year-old, right, is their amusement after a long day. These people are wicked, right? And, like I said, I can't wait till judgment comes to the nation. And how, I'm not sure what the standard burn time is for a human being to like burn before they expire, but may they have extra long burning for what the hell they are inclined to do to children, right? My God doesn't allow me to curse people. He says, vengeance is mine. But, obviously, I don't wish good things on these wicked people. Honestly, I wish that their life is full of turmoil because of the things that they do to these children. And honestly, I wish the demons will turn on them. And the demons do turn on these people. Trust and believe. If you are not leverageable to them, they will turn on them. And, for what it's worth, it's a good day when the demons turn on wicked men. It really is. But anyways, you guys, let me know what you think about Candace Owens, new, making Brigitte, but it's the bride of Chucky. I mean, the bride of Charlie. She do look like that Tiffany doll. I mean, Erica Kirk is giving Tiffany doll. She looked like the Tiffany doll. Her actions are soulless. It feels like the Tiffany doll. Wasn't that Chucky's wife name, Tiffany? I think her name was Tiffany. But anyways, let me get off here. Definitely encourage you guys, if you guys have like a VR warehouse co-op spot in your place, do it. Do it. It is so fun. But I would just recommend that you have 5 people in the co-op. I did that today. I lost my voice. It was just 2 females trying to kill a bunch of zombies that were coming out of everywhere, and we kept dying. And the sucky thing about when we were dying too, the zombies would all go around the green circle that we had to go into to revive our lives. So it was just a lot of screaming. So I enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you guys have ever done one of those VR co op things in a local warehouse. It's a really dope experience. It's a really, really dope experience. We're going to pray for people like Candace Owens, right? Because I think, again, I said this before. Candace knows that Turning Point USA is nothing. It's nothing. Fuck the donors. The donors are just going to be wasting money like the Democrat donors did on Kamala Harris, right? If Turning Point USA doesn't have the influence, right? See, this is an influence game, right? It's an influence game. Who can help influence elections? Turning Point USA obviously had a track record of influencing elections, and they tried to kind of, you know, bring in Ben Shapiro into that, and Candace was like, "Oh hell no, not Ben. He didn't even like Charlie, y'all. This is how y'all know they trying to steal his stuff. The Zionists trying to steal Charlie's stuff. They done killed him, and they trying to put Ben Shapiro. They shouldn't even. Man, these people are dumb. They're not the smartest people in the room. They're not the smartest people in the room. Like, honestly, the Daily Wire should have made a statement, and the Daily Wire should have really went about their business. I wouldn't have been tethering Ben Shapiro to nothing that was going on to Charlie Kirk. But again, Candace knows what they don't know. So ultimately, it did not look good for Ben Shapiro. He looked like somebody that was trying to steal on Charlie Kirk. So it's like the Zionist people, they coordinate, they scheme, they can strong arm people with their political, governmental, police forces and shit like that. Especially people that are not really working with the power of the God of Abraham. But I don't worry about Zionists. I really don't worry about Zionists. Like, I don't. Their coordinations or none of that stuff. They know what it's like to come after my people. But it's one of those things where, they're not doing smart things. Like, if I were a grand scheming Zionist and somebody was like, all right, we just whacked off Charlie Kirk. What's the next move? What is the next move so that shit don't look so obvious? We got Candace Owens who's going to be very upset about this, and she's going to be investigating every fucking thing, right? Anything that looks suspicious, she's going to be investigating, right? How should we move post Charlie Kirk's death? Nobody from Turning Point USA should say a motherfucking thing, right? Outside of their condolences, they need to be in the background, sounding hurt. No podcast, no laughy giggling, none of that shit, none of that stuff, right? We gonna give Charlie's chair and his office space and his podcast studio the respect of some months before we even put another ass or a body in his space. We're not gonna put Erica in front right away, right? We need her to actually play the grieving widow role, right? And that means we don't want to see her ass for months outside of the funeral, because we really need to believe that she's been grieving, right? These idiots, you can't play a grieving widow role, and you got this broad out here grand hustling for the organizations, selling t-shirts, trying to prove to the donors that she can be just as effective as Charlie post his death by milking his death with merchandise and all kinds of other shit. She had to prove to the donors that she could step in and do this, right? But you got to be able to continuously do it. And if Turning Point is losing a lot of their influence because a lot of that conservative base is side eyeing Erica and all of the remaining Turning Point decision makers, right? They're not going to have the power of elections any soon. And like I said, it's going to die. Turning Point is going to die with Charlie. It's not going to be a sustainable organization because the perception of everything around Charlie's death, before it, after his death, during his death, it's just way too sus for people. And I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, I can't stand Turning Point USA. And it's like, wow, I liked it with Charlie, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what they're doing. Like, a lot of people beyond Candace Owens are really suspect about this Charlie Kirk thing. And again, when you got a white guy, and I did look at Charlie Kirk, let me do another ancestry test on this. I think he's a Japhite. Let me look. I don't know if Charlie Kirk has had a nose job. So it's like when people get nose job, even though you can kind of start seeing. So let's look at Charlie Kirk. Again, this is how I look at people's ancestry, for real. All right. So looking at Charlie Kirk, right away, I am looking at, he's a Eurasian. He's a Eurasian. There, I don't think that he's had a lot of like recent ancestral nation mixing with a certain group of people, but he's Eurasian, right? He wasn't the right face for that kind of influence. All right? He had the wrong ancestral symmetry to maintain the influence that he was going to have, especially if he was not going to be playing ball with the children of Satan. So, yeah, keep fighting the fight, Candace. Keep fighting the fight. That's all I can say. You keep fighting for your man, girl. Stand by your man. Who sung that song? Stand by your man. Keep standing by your man, girl. Because he should have been her man. Charlie Kirk should have been Candace Owens' man.
Or whether that marriage took place at all, we will see if we can discover throughout this series. But today, I would like to discuss with you guys Kent Bronsfay's first wife. This woman is very important.
Remember when she was like doing the Kamala Harris ancestry thing? Like, you know, I think that's what she's doing with Erica Kirk. She's like, remember when she was proving that Kamala Harris wasn't black? I think this is kind of where she's going with Erica Kirk. She's not who she's saying that she is.
Compelling characters in this story because she's very powerful, she's very connected, and she has quite a peculiar background. And ultimately, her life, despite the fact that she married Kent first, is going to plug right into Erica's life. This woman's name she died 2 years ago, Dr. Jerry Bronsfay. Look at Dr. Jerry Bronsfay. I'm going to tell you about Dr. Jerry Bronsfay. She keeps her name. She also dies in Arizona. Everybody's in Arizona. You would have no idea that these people were exes, and they seem to get along quite well. They keep doing business together.
Some of these people are breeders, though. I mean, these people are interlocked with power, right? And so, you know, a lot of times these families are connecting other families to maintain concentrated power. You know, that's one thing to realize here is that, you know, it's kind of the Habsburgs, any royal family. You know, a lot of these people treat themselves like royal houses, even if they're not royal houses. They're going to keep bloodlines a certain type of way. They're going to be very selective about who is in those bloodlines. That's why when people talk about it's racist to talk about bloodlines and ancestry, it's like there's a lot of people who are on that time. There's a lot of people interested in infiltrating and tainting bloodlines. And it's like it may be unbelievable to you, but it just happens. It's a reality.
Well, Dr. Jerry was born Jerry Pitts in 1943. She was born into a very strict Mormon household. Yeah, fun fact, Erica's father was at first married to a Mormon before he got together with Lori. Jerry's Mormon family is from Arizona, a very powerful Mormon family, but she herself was raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. Jerry also happens to be a victim of child rape.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
now she's going to tell the story in a different way. She's almost going to, when she retells, I always.
Wow, that's sad. I don't want to hear that part. I don't know if I want to hear that part. But, anyways, you guys, let me know if you're following Candace Owens. She's going after Erica Kirk in terms of her little deep dive rabbit holes now. And we will see where it ends. One thing about a Candace Owens rabbit hole is that it leaves you blue balled. All right? Like, it leaves people blue balled. It's like you'll spend like sagas and sagas with Candace, and at the end, it's like something else has got my attention, guys. We're over this. Like we're done with that saga, and this has got my attention, right? So I think that like if the Zionists and Turning Point USA really needs Candace to back off, like and find something else to do, right? You almost gotta like do what you do best and create a scenario in which she can go down a rabbit hole to forget Turning Point USA, right? It got to be because even the Jeffrey Epstein files did not distract Candace from this investigation, right? Candace is one track mind, right? So maybe release some more stuff in the Epstein files that, maybe connect some other people so that she can kind of move away from Turning Point USA and maybe they can gain a little bit more clout, right? Because, yeah, I don't think Candace is gonna stop. This rabbit hole is gonna go on and on and on and on in different little colorful ways until Charlie gets justice, which is not gonna happen from Candace's investigation. Charlie's not gonna get justice from Candace's investigation. If anything, she is going to just again plant the seeds of reasonable doubt that the people that were aligned with Charlie were really on his team. That's the best she can do here. And in doing that, that will cause Turning Point USA to wield yet, it will yield less influence on that demographic of people that Candace and Turning Point USA has always shared, you know? So this is why Ben Shapiro is going on his little rants, right? Because it's like, number one, it's like, fuck you, Candace. I was supposed to replace Charlie. I was supposed to be the face of Turning Point. It's like, nah, dog. He ain't even like you. Let me show you some text, guys. We eliminated Ben Shapiro all day with Turning Point USA. Look at these texts, guys. Charlie didn't even like the dude. He felt like he was trying to sabotage him, right? So Ben Shapiro's out of there. So they got to ride on this Erica thing. They got to ride on Erica. Erica's not looking good. Erica's not looking good. And if they would have just followed my advice, this melanated actual Israelite, they would have just shelved Erica. They would have shelved her. They would have put in somebody interim that nobody could recognize. They should have had an interim face in Turning Point that nobody recognized. That's what they should have did. That's what I literally said in my live streams. Like, they need to shelve her and they need an interim face. But obviously people are going to do what they want to do. And look stupid in the process. And this is how people like Candace Owens can just tear your ass apart, pick your ass apart to the point where your audience is not feeling you as much as they used to. So tell YouTube to stop suppressing my live streams, and maybe some of these strategies can kind of reach the ears that they need to reach. But until they stop, then, I think only the government profits from my strategies, right? Because, obviously, if they are suppressing live streams, they are suppressing thought, right? They're promoting the thought that they want, and they're suppressing the thought that they don't want you to hear, because obviously, these manipulators don't want you thinking outside of what they want you thinking about, and they cannot manipulate you if your eyes are open. Anyways, you guys, what's going on, Joseph? I see you. I'm about to get out of here. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you would not disrespect or abuse yourself, do not disrespect or abuse your neighbor. And for those people who wear religion as a badge of credibility, and honestly, I am going to get back into this topic because people are tearing Anton Daniels' ass up right now. Mr. Millionaire Morning Show, all that shit, right? They are tearing his simp ass up right now, right? Because this man got all them white people on the conservative end thinking he's a high righteous black man and he's just so above the black community, right? And he's over there doing Negro-ish. He's over there pimping and tricking and trying to be a trick to our women. I mean, you know, again, these people are double talking demons. They use religion as a badge of credibility. It's like people could all they could God, 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 faith and family, right? All the while, right? They're tricking you off of believing that they're actually genuine in the things that they're saying. All the while, they're behind closed doors with possibly another married woman. Their wife is weird as hell. It seems like the wife is on board with just some openness from the dialogue. These are not Christians. These are not godly people. These are unrighteous people hustling those who are vulnerable, right? If you notice, and I give out a lot of valuable information on this page, my page is not monetized. I could have monetized my page a long time ago, right? But this is not a hustle for me, especially when I'm getting into the Word of God and I'm trying to get people to get into the Word of God. I don't want the Most High to believe that I even want to be thirsty for a prophet on His Word. This page is not monetized, and it'll never be monetized because, again, the topics that I focus on, life-saving information, is free. Getting people to enlightenment and seeing the real truth, that's, to me, you don't profit from that. You're trying to save souls. You're trying to wake people up. That's not a profit center for me. So my page is not monetized. So I do not profit from the information that I give to other people. When it comes to my lifestyle, I am very family focused. I am a career professional. I am a mom. I have a divine balance in my house. I'm not outside. I do my best to be in covenant with my Lord. And, the good thing about Messiah coming is that even a lot of the old Hebrew customs that a lot of people would feel like it's very difficult to follow today, it's really not. I mean, it's really not. Like, I think at the core of being a righteous person is treating people the way that you want to be treated, right? And this is why I say love your neighbor as yourself. If you would not disrespect or abuse yourself, you can tell by the way that people treat other people that they are abusive to themselves. So when you look at a guy like Anton Daniels and you see this guy literally just performing, right? But he's talking about God, he's talking about the black community, and he is the epitome of all of the negative things in the black community, because the black community has always had hustlers that look like us, people that talk a good game to our people, but they have zero interest in helping our people. They're more interested in how they can profit from our people, how they can hustle them into a mindset. I was listening to a lot of Anton Daniels, some of these black people that were jumping onto his panel, and honestly, I'm be honest with you, I'm a black professional. All right. And so it's like for me, I can peep somebody who is trying to establish their value with a false sense of self. And I saw a couple of his live streaming shows, the way he was talking to some of those people, talking down on some of those people. And it seemed like the bigger his platform got, the more he felt like he could just talk to certain black people like they weren't nothing. He was talking to black people like some of these non-black people would want to hear, like again, these Uncle Ruckuses, right? He's talking like that. So he's a double talking demon, using black people, then go on another little show or platform to talk shit about black people. All the while, he's trying to be this model of a black man and success and everything, and you a simp. You are a simp. You pay for women. Like any man that like literally has to validate himself by paying for women, you're actually more low value than you think that you are. And like I said before, if Anton Daniels did not have this platform, if he was not able to successfully manipulate people into believing he was a God-fearing man that was on this mission of success, right? He's a prosperity doctrine person at best, not God fearing. He's prosperity doctrine person. But to me, it's like you're going on this mission to make people feel like think that you are this God fearing person, that you are this example of black men among black men that are not doing as well. I'm trying to be this example, right? And you are like the opposite of black elevation. You are the opposite of a black man that truly has his people's interests in mind. You are profiting from your people. You're just like the race hustlers, because he do have a little race hustle in him, in my opinion. So, and I'm from Detroit. I'm from Detroit. But and I see dudes like Anton around all the time. These beard gang dudes, these funny looking dudes, they go out and grow a beard, and they flex their money. All right. This is how they get the attention of women, and they think that every single woman is impressed by a man with money. And if Anton did not have money, he would not be able to pull a Mika. And he knows that. That's why he's all like, if our situation was different, and if I met you, like, I mean, this is a dude in his feelings about a chick that he clearly knows doesn't want him, and she's just getting opportunity as much as she can out of him. But if he was not able to offer her anything, he would not get the attention of these women. So this is a case of new money, flexing, and he's shaming himself all the way. So, anyways, don't be fooled by these storefront preachers, these little hustlers out here talking about God, wearing God as a badge. Just like you don't live a godly life. You don't live a godly life. You don't. Even if somebody can go out and cherry pick a scripture from the Bible, it's like, do you understand the whole Bible? Do you understand the whole message that God is trying to tell you? When you are to be a righteous person, you're not out there cheating on your wife. You got your wife on your arm, not some baddie because your wife looks mediocre. And now that you got more money, you can pull something better than your wife. Like, I mean, all you got to do is look at the man's wife to understand what kind of women Anton Daniels could pull before he got money in a platform. Let's just keep it a buck. If you was just that guy, you would have had a baddie the whole time. And no disrespect to Anton Daniels' wife, because she's a cute brown looking woman, but she's not a baddie. Let's just keep it a buck. She's not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in the world. And if you had to choose between Mika and Anton Daniels' wife, you're going to be choosing Mika, just like Anton would love to choose Mika. But he don't have the same commitment from Mika as he do from his wife that he's been with for 17 years. This is why dudes like Anton, they will shame their wives for years, but they will never ever leave her, because they know the baddie knows she got option. And on the baddie side, he's expendable, right? He's expendable. She can replace him, right? When you're working with an insecure woman who don't feel like she got a lot of options, she gonna stay and just take anything from a man that look like that and act like that, right? Anton is never gonna leave his wife. He would never leave his wife for even a baddie, because he knows that will leave him as a lonely ass dude in the end. Matter of fact, some dudes need the idea of a wife just to get more women attracted to them, because there's some low value women, low down dirty women out there who seem to be attracted to a married man. They're more attracted to a man that is married because they want to be competition to somebody. So you got low down dirty women out there like that too. But anyways, you guys, have a good day. This was like my random live stream. I usually don't plan them, but have I don't oh. But have a good day. I'm not sure if I can see all of the comments from here because I'm on my phone. But have a good day, you guys, and I will catch you on the next one. I will probably go more in depth with the religion as a badge of honor, and even getting into Kabbalah mindsets. I think it's important for people to understand that, people who use religion and they do wicked deeds and everything, this is a form of Kabbalah. It's like doing really bad stuff and then trying to mask it with something good to offset the evil. But again, it's all about intent. Evil is evil. And so, we'll get into that more. But Anton Daniels, to me, I look at people like him as Kabbalists, right? They use religion as a badge of credibility so that they can sucker people in, all the while they have pure wickedness in their core, demons attached to their souls. Anyways, guys, bye.